343 is dead. It's dead. They killed.
R.I.P. in peace, 343. You won't be missed.
Rest in piss. Okay, so 343 is gone, and they renamed their studio. It's the same people, but they just renamed their studio Halo Studios. And so we're going to get into that. I also had an electric tweet this week that was like kicking a hornet's nest in the Halo fandom. So that was fun. A banger. Totally unintentional. Like, I did not, I have 120 followers and 100 of them are bots, so I don't expect much. But anyways, that's what we're going to get into. We also... All
of my followers are bots. So below, if you could put my X handle here so I could get more followers, that'd be great.
Yeah. Follow us on X.
Edit that in.
We'll fix it in post. All right, for the win, this is the Halo Studios episode. All right, comments first, as always. Let's rip through these. So, Dr. Wolfstar, 1765, said, Nintendo defeated Sony and Microsoft. Okay. I guess.
I think I got involved in that conversation. Was there any replies to that one?
Yeah, you did. You said Nintendo has dominated this console's generation. Granted, it had a few year head start on PS5 and Series XS, but I don't see anything changing for Sony or Xbox that will push their sales to rival Switch's 143 million plus. PS5 is sitting at about 62 mil and Series X at 28 mil. So
nothing but the facts there.
Yeah, nothing but the facts.
It is interesting to see the numbers specifically from PS4 to PS5 and then Xbox One to Series S, because of just like the blending of the generations, how there was like no clear-cut beginning and end, and there's so much backwards compatible for on the Xbox side, and there's so much of just everything that was releasing on PS5 is also releasing on PS4. It's like, where's all the, PS4 sold like 100 million, whatever. How come that didn't transfer to PS5 sales? And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. It was just like such a weird blending of generations this time around.
Yeah. In my mind, Xbox One we're still in the Xbox One generation. Like, it's still all right there. Even though the Xbox One came out, 10 years ago? But it's like everything, because there was never a leap. That's why. There was never a leap. It went from 360 to 1, which is like a very incremental leap, a little bit, nothing crazy in my mind. And we haven't leapt since. So that's, I think, why it's just felt like one long. But it's like we've had iterations. Anyways, no, nothing will beat Nintendo on the Switches because they got the kids.
And then Bjorn, don't even get started on handhelds, because then it's just... it's over.
Bjorn, Bjorn, this is a long comment. Okay, here we go.
I love Bjorn.
During your podcast on UK YouTube, a Call of Duty Black Ops commercial came on, and you guys need to see this and review it. LOL. It's a middle-aged guy in a Dodge Charger, and there are several scenes where he takes over certain roles. He makes tacos, and they shoot out at people. Then he has a family dinner, and kids ask where's our daddy? He says, I'm your daddy now. And the mother goes, hi, daddy. This is really so funny. This commercial actually proved your point, talking about he replied with the comment. Okay. Okay. That's funny. That's so random.
I'll look up that commercial.
Yeah. We'll look. We have to stay on track today, but we can look that up. Angry Canadian, I think the closet stream is here to stay. Bing Squad, roll up. I might be getting a garage upgrade, though. Moving from the closet to the garage. Yeah. They've been kind of clearing it out. Okay, so big news this week. 343 has renamed their studio Halo Studios. And they revealed it at the HCS Halo Championship Series, World Championships this past weekend.
Right.
And that was all the big news. We have not seen the trailer that they made this big reveal on, and we're going to live react to it now, talk about it, and share what we think about everything and the rebrand. And then we'll talk about my tweet, and that'll be the episode. So I have it pulled up. Do you want me to do it?
I've seen like some screenshots. I kind of have a general gist of like what the announcements were and things like that. But as far as the actual video, it's impossible to avoid everything.
For sure. That's exactly right. I saw, the screenshots and a few like small clips of the Master Chief with the sword and all that. But really what they're talking about, it's a 6-minute video. So if you didn't get the news, here it is now. Can you see this, John?
Heard it here first. I can see it.
Is this all good? Full screen. Live react.
Chris Matthews, take 1. Mark.
This is Casey Wu, take 1. Mark.
I was told that I can just be my authentic self, Chris.
Perfect.
I want to be in front of a camera.
There's so much to do and so much fun to be had when you play Halo that I feel like I never run out of things to do.
I love intricate stories that take place across lots of different worlds, have lots of different meaningful characters.
What made Halo successful at the beginning? What is the legacy of Halo, and what's the soul that we want to bring forward, and what's the craft of making Halo games, and how do we set our studio at best to go deliver on that?
We knew we had to make a change in order to take us into the future.
When I first heard about Halo, moving
Just
on,
turn it off.
This is going to be a really hard secret to keep.
I think fans are going to be excited about the future of Halo because of the possibilities that are afforded us by using Unreal.
Before, we really had to split our focus in thinking about building an engine, supporting it, being really kind of a tech company and a studio at the same time. Since we've made the change to shift to UE, we can bring Halo forward in ways that people have never seen before while still being true to what Halo is.
The Foundry project was an effort to show ourselves how far we can push things using Unreal 5.
New studio art director, Chris, came to me and said, hey, I have this crazy idea.
He said, hey, there's this thing called Project Foundry that I want to do. Let's make it happen.
Foundry specifically is based around the same concept of the Foundry in Halo lore. It's the place where Halo rings are born.
Work in progress, content rendered in Unreal Engine 5.
It's not a game, it's a research project for our studio so we can prepare ourselves for the next steps of making Halo games.
It looks awesome.
The original Halo franchise was a graphics showcase. It was best in class. That's what Halo was when it first was released, and that's what Halo needs to be again.
Make Halo great again!
So once Project Foundry had been approved, we took the entire creative team and we ideated on 3 locations, something old, something new, and something really alien.
We had the Pacific Northwest, which is sort of traditional Halo biome.
We were trying to shove as much foliage in there as humanly possible to make it really feel like you're on a hike in the, Cascades.
The Coldlands, which was the second biome that we took on, it was more of a technical showcase where we could play with shaders, we could play with deformable landscapes and terrains. Unreal affords us more opportunity than we've ever had in the past.
On the surface, it might just look all like snow, but how many layers of things combine to really give that winter look?
And then our third biome was the Blightlands, which is any land that's been completely taken over by the flood.
I wanted to give our team the opportunity to really express an alien world, a really alien world, taking something way further than they may have actually done in previous Halo games.
What's impressed me about watching the Halo team work in Unreal is how beautiful everything looks, how incredible the environments look.
Looks good.
I don't think we've seen anything quite like it in Unreal Engine before.
Fortunately, we have a studio that's really passionate about Halo, about the look and the feel, and I think there's a lot of hunger to really collaborate, to move forward together.
Foundry was an initiative that touched on every part of the creative process, everything from concept art, VFX, characters, vehicles, and weapons to make the future games of Halo.
Creating an asset, taking this design, now we can really dig into material foundations. What is it actually made of? How is it physically accurate to the world? Now we get to take all the wonderful legacy assets that we have, bring them to life, and bring them to today's standards.
We are really excited to be not just working on multiple projects, but also expanding our studio.
As a lifelong Halo player, I think the game's only going to get better when we get those new, unique perspectives and people bring in their expertise and passion for the Halo franchise.
He made fun of Mint Blitz
franchise.
We are looking for new talent as the projects that we're working on kind of get further and further into their development cycles.
And it is great to be part of a team that's growing because you can kind of see that force multiplied as people come in and take on challenges and you can do more.
Imagine a place where you have the commitment that this is what we want to do, Halo games, and create those experiences. And you can express your talent, your creativity, and your professional ambitions in that place.
We're looking for designers, we're looking for artists, we're looking for engineers.
It feels like a new beginning for the studio in a lot of ways, and I think that's pretty rare.
And I think we arrived now at a point where you see the beginnings of people to start to believe in the process.
There's so much momentum that we have right now and focus and clarity on not just what we're building, but why we're building and kind of this next phase of Halo.
The worlds that we're building, the stories that we're going after.
The potential at Halo right now is huge.
Halo Infinite was the last remnants of how we made Halo games in the past. That was our recipe. And what we are doing right now, we're changing that recipe.
A new dawn. Here come the Tetris blocks. All right, John. What are your just off the rip? What are your thoughts when you see that? That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
Like, what I want to say, I don't know if I can even say it. I don't want your channel to get demonetized or the video to get taken down or flagged. That was like the most just like self-indulgent, just saying nothing for 6.5 minutes. Like, I just like, who are these people? You know, like, it's just, I don't know. It's very hard to, just like look back at the history of Halo and who developed Halo and why we fell in love with the game so many years ago, and just knowing that the people that are working on it now don't love Halo. Like, the people that they were interviewing there, they weren't at our LAN parties, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Like, No, like why? It just sounds like so sexist, but it's like, why are there so many women working on Halo, and why are so many of them overweight, and like why are so many of them have terrible haircuts and purple hair, and like who are like these aren't like they're not like game devs, they're not like
yeah.
It's just like, what are they doing? They're hiring artists and, you know, da 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 and da 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 and da da. And I'm like, I guess this is good for them to, you know, learn UE5 and kind of get used to putting their assets in it and whatever. But it's like, you still got to like make a fun game and make a game that works and make a game that has features. And you know, I have like a lot of like mixed, I'm kind of mixed on the whole transition to UE5. Like I get it, I understand, but what I've learned about AAA game development in the last, I don't know how many years now, is that, you know, sometimes having limits can cause you to be the most creative. You know, you think about like creating something in MS Paint or something like that. Having those barriers and limits causes you to be more creative and think more outside of the box. And what I've heard with a lot of like UE5 is like, yeah, it lets you do all of this stuff, but it's also like super bloated. And so like they're talking about like all of these layers of like snow and to make it look like winter. I'm just like, make the gameplay fun. It doesn't have to be a graphical powerhouse. Like it should look good, and there shouldn't be like graphical glitches and things, and like the draw distance should be good, and there shouldn't be pop in and things like that. But I just know that like having all those tools can just kind of create laziness. And if there's like, I know that AAA development has gotten lazy with the tools they use. And so part of what made Halo feel like Halo and not like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield or something like that was like Halo's engine. And like that's where all the physics came from, and that's like what made the Warthog feel like the Warthog, and you know, the jumping and all of that. And so to take that all away, like how are they going to capture the feel of Halo in UE5? I think that is going to be a big challenge for them. Hopefully they can figure it out. But man, I just think of just in that video, just like how much money is being spent, and like how much money is being spent on just like these concepts and things without any smidgen of thought going into gameplay. You know, it's all just like, oh, let's, you know, modernize the visuals. And I think as like the visuals get more realistic, that's when like art style becomes like super important, because I will always take like art direction and art style over like graphical fidelity, you know. And so I saw a couple like screenshots and like even like the Master Chief with the sword and the laser and stare and fighting the elite there and all that, and it's like really close, but it also looks like a figurine, you know. It looks like a toy. I'm doing the balloon thing again. I don't know why. But it like looks like a toy, and I think part of it is like everything's just like very shiny and clean, you know. And Halo's always just kind of had a very gritty, like marine, you know, think of like James Cameron's Aliens was like a huge inspiration for the games and things like that, where, you know, it's Marines fighting against aliens and, you know, all of that. And so to see it so like polished and clean, I'm like, if you want to know what like realistic Halo looks like,
right,
you know, more realistic than any of the video games come out, like look back at like the live action like Halo ads. I think of like the ODST ads or like the Halo 3 ads, things like that. Like that's how you nail like the art direction and the vision of like what Halo is, like hyper realistically, because you actually like filmed it, you know. So those always like felt like Halo, even though they were live action, because the tone was there, the aesthetic was there, all of that like matched and lined up. And so it really just kind of came off as a little cartoony, you know, in this, even though it's like realistic, it didn't feel real.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of what you said, and it's just like it is a tough sell because they have like, I mean, they literally changed the name of the studio. So that tells you truly how bad things were. They drove the 343 brand so far into the ground. It's so tarnished that they had to change the entire studio's name. Like, that is not a small thing. Like, imagine if Blizzard came out and was like, we are now Warcraft Studios, or, you know, Forge Studios, whatever. Like, that would be the most insane. You're like, what are we talking about? Because the brand is so scuffed, and that is like, that is so telling. And there's so much hopium, and I'm generally like not a negative person. You know, as I've gotten a little older, I've gotten a little more negative, but I don't like to be a negative person, and I want to be someone who's like, see the silver lining type of vibe. But like, I still can't, it doesn't matter that you change the studio name. That's totally irrelevant to me. If you go out and you take my Scion and you rip off the logo and you take one from a Tesla and slap it on there, I'm going to be like, cool, Tesla logo. But it will drive like a Scion. And that is what it is. And I know they say they're changing the recipe, and a lot of people have come and gone from the studio, but I still, and I hope this is like fuel. If anyone at 343 ever sees this, they probably won't. Prove me wrong. I genuinely, and I mean this in the nicest way ever, I just don't believe 343 has it in them as a studio. I don't think the new leadership, I know they gutted the new, I don't think it can happen, genuinely. And it's just the way it is. And so I hope I eat my words. I pray I eat my words.
Totally. And I've said in the past on the pod, like, I think 343 has done things right, but they haven't pulled together a complete package. So like with Halo 4, like the emotional beats of the campaign were awesome. Like, that game literally like had everyone like falling in love with Cortana, like for real. You know what I mean? Like,
actually.
And then but the multiplayer was just like scuffed. And I always, like, it's not even a joke, but I was just like, I could never get into the multiplayer simply because I hated how the battle rifle sound. Like, I think we played it a little bit, terrible. But I was just like, I hated how the battle rifle sounded compared to like the Halo 3's and Halo 2's battle rifle. But then, fast forward to Halo 5, and they nailed, I think they like nailed the multiplayer. Like, it's super fun. You have all the different movement options, the ground pound, and then fast forward to when they have like all the weapon variants, and then all of a sudden like Fiesta is like a really, really fun game type and all of that. And like, we played a ton of the multiplayer. Yeah, Warzone. I never super got into Warzone. I played it a bit, but like, I was like a Fiesta,
and it was stable. That's what I remember about Halo 5. It just like worked. It was a stable, strong game. It rarely had like, I don't know. We played it a lot. It's definitely not my preferred type of Halo, but
so they got the like multiplayer down, but then the campaign is by far the worst Halo campaign. one of the worst campaigns I've ever played.
Any game.
In any game, because there was just too many sections of the game that were so unfun.
Yeah.
And I will always prefer to play as the Master Chief, even, you know, I know people are a fan of the Arbiter, but like I will always, I did not like ending Halo 2 playing as the Arbiter. Like I wanted to end the game as the Chief. So I remember when that happened, I was like,
Yeah, I didn't love it in Halo 2 when I was the Arbiter either. Like that was one of my things for Halo 2. But
so, and then with Infinite, the campaign that they had was like pretty good, but it was also like very unfinished, and entire parts of the Halo ring were left just like untouched. And then
and the art direction. I like the art direction of Infinite too. It felt classic. It felt more classic.
After they fixed it, after the notorious
yeah
play and all of that. The art direction in the campaign, not for the multiplayer, but for the campaign, definitely was, you know, closer to home. But so like they've throughout the years have gotten like some parts really good, but couldn't carry them through to the next title. And it just never made sense to me how you go from Halo 5 to Infinite. And I'm like 99% sure that the story in Halo Infinite takes place after Halo 5. And so you have the Master Chief lose all of these movement options. You know, he loses the ground pound, loses the thrusters, all of that. You know, you have all of these weapons and all of these maps and all of these other features that don't make it to the new game.
Right.
You know, and so when
it's
Infinite
just a roller
releases,
coaster,
just like this bare bones, you're like, wait, all of this was there before. Like, let's bring it over. And then I think ultimately, like crossplay and free to play was just like, it probably made sense for them business wise, but as far as like making the game the best it could be, I think that failed the game doing that. So
I 100% agree with you. And I think like, you know, you saw they're doing like some play tests and there's like all these moms in the background, and it's like the core audience of Halo is like 99% male dominated. You know what I mean? And so it's like,
my mom hates Halo. She hates video games. Like,
and
why are they in there?
Here's the thing. I get it. The people are going to be like, well, Halo's not just for boys, girls. There's girls who like it. Yes, I know, but you don't build a rule around an exception. Okay? Girls who like Halo, that's amazing. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. But they are an exception to the rule. They're not the majority. The majority is guys who like to play Halo. That just is what it is. And you can not like that. That's fine. But you don't like, the NFL is learning this. They learned this with Taylor Swift because they started throwing Taylor Swift up on everything. And people are like, this is like 95% male dominated audience. And they're getting sick of this really quickly because they're not Taylor Swift fans and they don't listen to Taylor Swift music. They want to watch their football players. And so it's that, like, again, like you said, it's like, we're not here to make a cool little art project that includes everyone and brings everyone in and we have a grand old kumbaya time. We want to make the best freaking Halo game that has ever existed. And I just don't know if that, you know, Pierre Heinz looked like he's gotten beat over the head with a 2x4 for the last like 6 years. He seems so depressed. He's like, we're really excited. We're changing the recipe. And he looked like he had a gun to his head. I mean, it looks like he's gotten the snot beat out of him. And that's night and day different when, again, we always reference it, those old making of Halo 2, making of Halo 3. And they were going through it. The crunch was brutal. But when they're talking, they're like, you know, you can just tell there's this crazy passion there about the game. And I think that's what is missing.
Right. And my belief is that I should not be 100% confident that I can 1v1 95% of the people in that video without. I haven't even played Halo in probably, I don't know, a while. It's been a long time, but 100%, like 95% of those people I could 1v1 in Halo and in their new game that I haven't even played yet. And like, I don't even know what the score would be, but it's like, dude, there's no way. And you could say I'm being judgmental and sexist and whatever, but I can just tell just by looking. Like, I can just look and just know. Like, okay, I haven't played Halo in a long time, but there's no way you're putting up any kills against me. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
And that shouldn't be the case. The developers should be the ones that know the ins and outs of the game and should be the pros at their game, not necessarily playing professionally, but like they should have an edge. And I feel like I would have an edge because I've played more Halo than those people there that are now working on whatever they're working on.
Yeah. Yeah. I want Halo to succeed. We want Halo to succeed. And people write off anyone who has anything negative to say. I mean, like Halo Twitter community is like the bottom of the barrel, because if you say anything negative, you're automatically labeled, you're a hater, even like some of the most well thought out people who are even just smarter than us about this stuff and have really thought deeply about gameplay, mechanics, all of it. And if they put forth anything negative, they just get labeled terrible. But I want Halo to succeed so bad. I want it to be fun. I want the community to flourish. I don't want it to exist in a space where it's terrible for a decade, but then all we get on the front facing part of the brand is, we're so excited about this. We love this. The community is amazing and this and this and this. And literally we never got, in the last 10 years, we never got, like, apart from Bonnie Ross saying, we let fans down with MCC after they absolutely dropped a nuclear bomb on the Halo community. It was always like, it's just always this fake positivity, and it kills me when we're just, it's like just so like obnoxious when I'm like, dude, it sucks to be a Halo fan right now. And all we get is like how great this game is and how awesome things are going and da-da-da. And I'm like, dude, we're suffocating over here, man. I've been playing Diablo for the last 2 years. I don't play Diablo. I'm a Halo player.
It's like our government sending billions of dollars to foreign countries while we're getting hit by hurricanes.
Yes. So I see this, to sum it up, my takeaway is this is all just hopium. It means nothing to me. It is. I'm like, cool. I hope it does well, but I feel no type of way about it. And I know people are going to say, give Halo Studios a chance, blah, 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 blah. Look, I'm not going to sit here and hate on them all day. I'm not going to whatever. The proof will be in the pudding. That's all that matters. Nothing matters. No teasers, no trailers, no releases, no screenshots, no renders. None of it matters. The only thing that matters is the game that they put out in 2-3 years, and if it sucks or if it's good. Period. Full stop. That's it. That will be the true tell. And take a picture, screenshot this, 343, print it out, put it on a wall somewhere. I don't think you guys can pull this off. Period. Straight up. Put my face in there. Call me a loser. Call me a guy who doesn't know what he's talking about. And freaking prove me wrong. I'm 33 years old. This may be my last shot to play a Halo game before, we pass the baton to the next generation. So let's have it. Like, whatever, like, I'm in full support. I want you to do it. I want you to win. But I'm at the point where it's like,
prove me what you got.
Prove it. Do you want to go over this tweet really quick?
Yeah.
So, for those of you who don't know, on top of this, a couple days before, they announced that their Halo Infinite is releasing a third-person mode. It's a toggle that you can turn on third person, turn it off. They're going to put it in some playlist, etc., roll it out. And it's a third-person mode. Now, there's a kind of a lot to unpack there, mainly because Halo has always been a first-person game. And obviously, you know, when the first iterations of Halo, when they're developing it, they tried it out in third person. That was the plan. Jason Jones wanted it to be third person, but multiplayer was not good. And then technology got a little bit better, and so they
getting into vehicles was always third person.
Right. So, anyways, to get into the tweet, I replied when they dropped this announcement. Where is it? Kind of want to pull it up. I have a million notifications. I should just click one of those. So they put out a tweet, experience a new way to play. Third person mode is coming to Halo Infinite this November, right? And I just replied, the Fortniteification of Halo is so depressing. And it got a smooth 2.1 thousand likes, 44 retweets, and 89 comments. What do you think about I want to respond to a couple of the stupid, obvious brain dead comments just so I'm on the record. I did reply to some, but what are your thoughts when you saw like third person mode is coming to Halo Infinite? What was your takeaway what did you think when you saw that?
Oh God. Well, the first thing I was just like, why? Mm-hmm. Like, is somebody asking for this that, you know, I'm not aware of? Then I was like, why, with all the issues in the current games and MCC and Infinite, like, why are any resources being spent on adding this to the game? I already like have a problem with like Halo's multiplayer with like when the motion tracker is turned on, when radar is turned on, because it just grinds the game to a halt, especially on like bigger maps and things. Because as soon as you like see someone, you just stop. Everyone just stops, and then nothing happens around corner. Like it just grinds the game to a halt. So I'm already like a, you know, no radar player, but now you add third person. And now, like, you just see, like, way more. Like, you can turn and, like, see around the corners and all of that. And so I'm just like, this is going to make it go even,
that
like,
kind of Halo,
slower. Like, the clips they were showing was, like, everyone just, like, running into the open and, like, blowing up and shooting stuff. But I'm like, dude, this sounds, like, miserable actually playing, like, multiplayer. And I think they said it was at first just, like, for firefight or something like that.
Yeah,
which,
they're rolling it out. They'll have like probably a third person playlist like Call of Duty,
which PvE is like, you know, cool, whatever. But I think, you know, why the third person works, you know, in like a Fortnite or like a PUBG or whatever is because, you know, the maps are just like giant and open, and you're really only doing any kind of close quarters combat like every once in a while, you know? Where Halo's maps are just, you know, any kind of, they're small. Even like the big team battle maps are like way smaller than, at least they feel very small, you know, compared to older Halo maps. You know, I just think about like driving the Warthog and just being able to just drive all over a map, and now they have it all just so narrow into these lanes that like you can, you know, you don't have a lot of room to just like play and just drive straight across a map like you used to. But But yeah, those were my thoughts. I was just like, why are they spending any time on this? And like, who's asking for this? But it just kind of reiterates that like 343, they can change their name, but they still just like don't know what to do with this franchise. Like they don't get it. And just like to touch back on like the previous video, they're talking about like all these stories that they want to tell and all these characters and all this stuff, and I'm just like, it's literally about like humans fighting aliens to save the human race,
right?
To save the galaxy from activating the Halo rings to destroy the flood and like all that. And it's like it's not that complicated.
Right. I would respect it would never happen. The amount of respect I would have for 343 if they just said, for Halo Studios, if they were just like, okay, yeah,
it's gonna be an X and Twitter situation. They're gonna be called 343 for a long time.
The amount of respect I would have for them if they were like, scrap the last 10 years, 1 through 3 are canon, or Reach, basically Bungie is canon. We're starting over, and we're going to continue the story from the end of Halo 3, asleep in the cryo chamber, wake him up, and we're going to have a more cohesive story that like people can rally and get behind. I wouldn't be mad at that. It's like a Star Wars situation, where it's very, very similar. I would be in full support of that. And I think you're right. That was my thought too. I'm just like, it's like, dude, Halo is not a first person game, first of all. And people are like, oh, it's a third person, it used to be third person, but it's like, dude, we all know this. Everyone knows that. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like,
that's not the game that sold tens of millions of copies.
Correct. And I come back to this Counter-Strike analogy a lot. It's like, okay, well, at what point does Counter-Strike stop being Counter-Strike? Okay, so if they came in and the devs added Sprint to Counter-Strike tomorrow, would you say, I don't know, I would ask this to the Counter-Strike community, would they say this is still Counter-Strike? Because everything else is there. Okay, yeah, it is. Okay, cool. What if they added abilities? So now you can you have a jetpack, and you also have a you can walk through walls at certain points, go invisible,
armor lock.
Armor. What would you say that's still Halo? And so the problem, and this is the reason I think this is like the deepest. Like, you want to get deep, we're going to go 1,000 feet deep. This is the core reason, and like this is what 343 did that set the community like in a great divide. They went down to the core of the core of the core of the essence of Halo, and they changed it. And from that moment on, the whole community has been divided. Because what makes Halo, now the community does not agree on what Halo is to its core mechanics. So you have half of the community saying, well, Halo is this. If it has the name Halo on it, it's Halo. And then you have half the community saying, no. Halo is a sandbox first-person shooter, that's like a party shooter. Like, there's very specific pillars that if you take one of them away, it's no longer Halo. And so they went down unwise and stupidly, and just right off the rip went all the way down to the core of what makes Halo Halo, and they started shuffling around. Instead of shuffling around on the top and being like, well, let's move this around, they just went all the way to the epicenter and just started making adjustments there. And you do that, it's a massive ripple effect. And so I don't know if there's recovering, like it's, and then you do that, and then you build on that, and you make more games out of this total dysfunctional recipe that, oh, that's a bummer. that recipe didn't work for 10 years. Now we're going to change the recipe. It's like, we didn't need to change anything. Like, it was working for 1, for 2, for 3, even the experimental, reach that they did. It was still like, people love the crap out of it. It's like, you didn't need to change the recipe. So what are we doing? We don't need to change the recipe. We have the recipe. The recipe exists. What we need are chefs who are willing to follow the recipe. Full stop. That's it. It's so it's easy. It's easy. It takes a lot of hard work, but the recipe's there. And that's why we go crazy. That's why we sit here and we talk about it every single week. That's why for the last decade we've been ripping our hair out, because the recipe exists. You can build on it. You can add, some sprinkles here. You can add some, a little bit of vanilla maybe. You can add let's try some chocolate chips. But you cannot add 50 eggs, take out the flour, and then replace, the milk with water. Because that's what they did. That's what they're doing. And so I hope that they take a deep, hard look. Pierre, please, for the love of God, just go back to Grandma Bungie's freaking cookbook, open it up, grab the card out, look at the recipe, read it, and then apply it. Bake it, and then put whatever frosting you want on it. Put whatever toppings you want on it. Give us a new flavor. Great. We love that. I want Halo to evolve. I'm not a boomer who doesn't want anything to change, but the recipe exists. Counter-Strike, Rocket League, holy crap, these games are massive for a reason. Why? The recipe. They're not changing the recipe. That's my rant. That's how I feel about this video. It means nothing unless they follow the recipe the successful, delicious recipe they were given. Will they do it, John?
Well,
we don't
on top of ignoring the recipe, now with UE5, they're using completely new and untested ingredients. So, can a Halo game be made with Unreal? I don't think we've seen it yet. So, I just kind of had a thought too, just with the direction of Halo and, talking about the stories and 1, 2, 3 being canon, that's, Bungie set out to make that trilogy, and instead of making Halo 4, they made Reach. Why didn't they make Halo 4? And I think a lot of it has to do with they completed the story,
Totally.
So now it's just I think that's been a problem with Halo 4's story and Halo 5 and even Infinite. It's just how many times are we going to recycle, just the enemies and the brutes and the elites and all of that stuff. So I don't know where you take the story of the Master Chief or what new great evil. The problem is when you save the entire universe, where do you go from there? How do you up the ante and take it to another level?
Totally.
You can't. You save the entire universe. So that's kind of it's kind of the MCU syndrome right now. They saved the
right
all of everything, and then now they're trying to restart, and it hasn't been as successful to let's save everything all over again. So I think with the UE engine, I would be surprised if we don't see remakes of just every Halo game. They just bring them all over. I would love to, if the feel is all there. It's for me, it's the feel. I can do with or without graphics and things like that, but the feel, if the feel is good, remake all the games. But
sure.
I mean, I've had gripes with Halo 3 and beyond because specifically in multiplayer, because there's just too much stuff on the maps and like too much. I was like, there's too much crap on the map.
Junk everywhere. Yeah,
all kinds of little angles. I can't throw a grenade and bounce it because it'll hit like a pebble and go a different direction. So
Halo
campaign
Infinite worth at that.
Pack as much stuff and layers of snow as you want in a campaign, but like give me clean, flat surfaces, things that I can like make predictable movements and shots on. But and I mean, look at like Counter-Strike's maps and things like that. Like it's they put a box there, or something, not a bush with rocks all around it and all that. But
so I agree. And essentially what I, just so we're on the record, and people are just mouth breathing crayon eaters. They cannot understand anything.
Oh, what you mean by Fortnite? They just assume. You're talking about
third person. It's like no, that's like one small little tiny piece. So when I say the Fortniteification of Halo, this has been happening since Infinite and even a bit before, which some people pointed out. And so it's not just the third person. It's the Infinite introducing the games as a service model, free to play. That was the first
doing a really bad job at it too, compared to other huge live service games, really bad.
Totally. And I've gone on the record to say I like when live service is done well, I like it. Case in point, Diablo, have been playing it for 2 years straight, and they've had a couple, not so great seasons and whatever, but they continue to update. The game gets better and better and better, and it's the most fun it's ever been. It was so fun when I even first played it, and I've continued to have more fun, and that's because it's live service. And so I do not hate live service. However, Fortnite really, really, really blew that up. Fortnite is the live service king. They do it great. They do it well. And so, boom, Halo jumped on that trend. And so what is that? That's Fortniteification of Halo. The other thing is, the battle pass system. A lot of games did that, and people did it before Fortnite. But
single player games are doing battle passes now.
Totally. And it popularized by Fortnite. And so what does Infinite do? Oh, we got to have a battle pass system. So they get a battle pass system. A heavy, heavy emphasis on a shop, microtransactions, and macro transactions. We're talking $30, $40, $50 transactions in the shop. Who popularized that? Obviously it's, it goes all the way back to the horse, but again, Fortnite has been a leader in that, and they do it really well, right? I've spent money in the Fortnite shop. They've had some cool collabs and different things. I bought the Master Chief skin in Fortnite, I ran around as a Master Chief and smacked kids around. It was great. But again, that is Fortniteification. Infinite jumped on that train. No other Halo game jumped on that train. Infinite jumped on it in a massive... Halo 5 might have done some of it, but it's this, not to this level. And then again, it's just following these common trends. What did COD do? COD released their third person mode, and it's oh, cool. Yeah, that's great. And it's just Halo. You can just tell it wants to be one of these big three. They're trying so hard to be in this Fortnite Call of Duty conversation, and their moves are mimicking what they're doing. And so that's what the Fortniteification. It's been years of it happening, and it's been slow and steady. But anyone
third person's
with half a brain,
just the latest.
Yeah, it's just the latest. And so, Infinite's the
third
worst
person, and then now going to Unreal.
I know, and that's funny.
That's
great
the final...
Fate loves irony, because there was a bunch of people mad at me because I said, the Fortniteification of Halo is so depressing. And then not 3 days later, Halo announces we're switching to the Unreal Engine. And John, what game runs on the Unreal Engine?
Unreal Tournament.
Yes, in Fortnite. and they run that engine. And so it's like, oh, the Fortniteification of Halo continues to be depressing. And so, yeah, to anyone with a brain, like, obviously, it used to be like Halo in the very early stages was going to be third person. They scrapped it for various reasons. Obviously, Halo Infinite didn't invent third person. You guys are like dense as bricks. I know all of these things, but you cannot deny that Infinite has followed in the footsteps of Fortnite's live service model, and they are trying to do that and failing miserably because it's a lot of work.
Right.
So that's all I meant, just on the record. I'm not even gonna I'm gonna drop it there. I'm not responding to any more tweets because people are just so dumb. But that's all it is. And Halo was never that. That was never. Halo was a game that you bought, you played through an epic campaign story, and then you spent the rest of your days playing it with friends, getting together, having fun, and just enjoying the epic, like, insanely fun sandbox that they made for us to play and make memories and just have a great time in. And that's what it is, and not this whole like gotta log in, gotta do my chores, gotta get my achievements, gotta spend my money. Ooh, I gotta get this new like, no, like that's not it. And I don't think that's, maybe if it was done perfectly, I would love Halo as a live service, but it would have to be, truly incredible, and they would have to knock it out of the park, which, like, I don't need that. That's the thing. I'm not like, oh, I need Halo to be live service. I don't want that. I don't need that. If it was, if they could pull it off and it was incredible, sure, I'm all about it. But I just, at this point, the bar is so low. Just give me what we've always had, and I'll be happy. So let's just start at Halo 3. Just give me what we've always had, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts. Any last words before we get into the Vessel of Hatred, Diablo? Since Halo Infinite's not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, last words. That video didn't really give me much hope. I really need Mint Blitz's optimism because I'm fresh out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the sentiment I hear from, a lot of people online is like, this is nothing but good news. Like, people that don't even cover Halo are like, oh, this is great. This is all good news. And it's just kind of like, we'll see. It's still the same studio. It's still the same people. Like,
right.
You saw them in that video. Like, what's going to be different?
I don't know how people can just switch that part of their brain off. You know what I mean? It's like, I just don't, this is like a drastic example, but it's just about, expectations and delivering on those expectations. It's like, if you're a kid, and your dad leaves you, and your mom tells you every year for Christmas for 10 years, your dad's coming home for Christmas, he's going to come home for Christmas, and he never comes home. On year 11, when your mom tells you, guess what? I talked to your dad. I'm so serious. Look, I even have a picture. He's on the phone. Look, he's on the phone. Look, he says he's going to come home for Christmas. What's your reaction going to be? And it's a stupid, it's drastic, and, I get it.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's what the last 10 years has been. It's been like telling us this is going to be great. This is great. This is great. And it's been terrible. And so, forgive us if we're like, look, we want Halo to succeed. We love this franchise. It means so much. We wouldn't be talking for an hour about it in a closet if we didn't. But like 11 years, man. Like, sorry. I will be happy when you show up in my house. When I hear that knock on the door and I open it and I see you, you're like, Merry Christmas. let's open some presents. Let's do this. But until then,
gosh,
I am going to I'll be at my house and I'll be playing Diablo. So find me there.
That just reminds me of Angels in the Outfield. The kid's like, Dad,
great movie.
Think we'll ever be a family again? He's like, starts his motorcycle. He's like, maybe when the Angels win the pennant. And then takes off.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Maybe when a good Halo game is made.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, next week I might be in the garage. We'll see.
Cool.
We'll see. But all right, good episode. We tried to get Mint Blitz on to get his thoughts. He had to help his dad renovate today. And so he's
good
like
on ya.
Yeah, good on him. He wanted to, he was like, he was down to do it, but it just wasn't a good time. But I was like, dude, tell him that something has finally happened in Halo, Dad. Like, come on, like something's actually happening. I'm pretty sure he's put out like 3 videos in the last 2 days or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right. Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this new expansion. GG's, everybody. Oh, everyone leave your comments. Leave your comments. Light up the comments. We'll read them all next episode next week.
Yeah, tell me if I was too offensive and need to
tell him he's sexist,
shape up and
misogynistic, and all that. All right, GG's.
GG's.